Why won't you just let me buy it?
We don't serve filthy poor people.
Please, I'm buying.
I told you to get out, filthy old hag. Are you stupid, or do you just not understand human speech?
He slapped her hand off the counter, open palm across thin, veined knuckles. The crack echoed across marble.
Poor trash like you, trying to act big with me, you're worthy.
A frail black woman in a faded blouse, cradling her struck hand against her chest in a wheelchair she could not leave by herself.
I haven't...
He kicked the wheel. A young woman screamed and caught the handles.
Lesson 1 for daring to talk back to me.
She remained calm. She reached for her phone and made one call. In just a few minutes, everything would change completely. But before any of that happened, let's rewind to earlier that morning. 6:14 a.m., a small brick row house on Charlotte's east side. The alarm did not go off because Willa Saunders had been awake since 4. Pain does that. Lupus does that. 2 years of it eating through her joints, her muscles, her ability to stand or walk. She could not lift a glass of water without her fingers locking. Nadine Coleman came into the bedroom at 6:30. 26 years old. Willa's live-in home health aide for the past 14 months. She lifted Willa out of bed the way she did every morning. One arm under her knees, the other behind her back. Willa weighed 91 pounds. Lifting her felt like lifting a child. "I can brush my own hair," Willa said. "I know you can." "Then let me." Nadine handed her the brush. Willa's hand shook the entire time. It took her 4 minutes to pull her white hair into a knot. She did not ask for help. She never asked for help. The house was small but clean. Framed photos lined the hallway. One showed a young black woman standing in front of a tiny storefront on Trade Street, Charlotte, 1980. A hand-painted sign above the door read, "Beaumont Gallery." The woman in the photo was smiling. She had her whole life ahead of her. That woman was Willa, 46 years ago. The day she opened her first store with $8,000 saved over 14 years of sewing other people's clothes. Nobody walking through that hallway today would connect the woman in the photo to the woman in the wheelchair. The photo showed someone strong, upright, radiant. The wheelchair held someone the world had folded down to almost nothing. In the back hallway, a faded newspaper clipping from the Charlotte Observer. The headline read, "Local seamstress opens luxury boutique, bets everything on a dream." Next to it, a photo of Willa cutting the ribbon on the 10th Beaumont location. Then the 20th, then the 40th. She built a 1,200 square foot shop into a 42 location luxury empire worth $1.2 billion. Then her body failed. She stepped down as chairwoman 8 years ago. 2 outside CEOs came and went. The company she built kept running without her. "Nadine," Willa said that morning, "we're going to Beaumont today." Nadine looked at her. "Which one?" "Tryon Street. That's the flagship. I can go for you." "No, I want to pick it myself. Amara deserves that." Amara, Willa's granddaughter. Turning 18, Willa wanted to buy her a sapphire pendant. The one Amara had circled in a catalog 3 months ago with a purple marker and a smiley face. They called paratransit. The wait was 40 minutes. Nadine folded a blanket over Willa's legs because the morning air still bit. Willa stared out the window and said nothing. She was gathering herself. Every trip outside cost her something. Energy she did not have. Dignity she had to fight for. She knew what people saw when they looked at her. A frail black woman in a wheelchair who looked like she had nothing. She knew. She went anyway. The Beaumont Gallery flagship on Tryon Street occupied the ground floor of a limestone building in uptown Charlotte. Marble floors polished to a mirror finish. Crystal chandeliers casting soft gold light. Classical music drifting from hidden speakers. The air smelled like leather and jasmine. Every surface whispered money. At 8:45 that morning, Derek Caldwell held his daily staff briefing in the back office. 6'3", charcoal Tom Ford suit tailored to the millimeter, a silk pocket square, Italian leather shoes polished to a mirror shine. A Breitling on his wrist he was still paying off, but wore like an inheritance. Ice blue eyes under dark brows, a jawline that belonged on a billboard. He was stunning, the kind of handsome that made people trust him before he opened his mouth. He opened his mouth. Brand alignment, he told his team. Discretion. You see someone who doesn't fit the room, you redirect. You don't engage. You protect the experience for the clients who actually spend. He did not say the word black. He did not say the word poor. He did not have to. Patricia Ellis, his senior associate, nodded. Curtis Boyd, the new security guard, stood in the doorway. 28, black. He heard every word. His stomach turned, but he said nothing. The paratransit van arrived at 10:15. Nadine lowered the ramp. She wheeled Willa through the front door of the store Willa had built from nothing 46 years ago. Willa did not announce herself. She never did. On the way to the jewelry counter, Nadine slowed the wheelchair. A young sales associate, maybe 22 new hire, was on her hands and knees. She had dropped a tray of display earrings, small gold pieces scattered across the marble floor. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wet. Derek Caldwell stood over her, arms crossed. That perfect jaw clenched. Do you have any idea what those cost? This is exactly why I said we needed experienced staff. Pick them up, every single one. If one is missing, it comes out of your check. The girl's lip trembled. She picked up earrings one by one, her fingers slipping on the polished floor. One earring had rolled near the wheelchair. It sat on the cold marble, catching the light from the chandelier above. Willa looked down at it. She leaned forward, slowly. Her thin arm extended past the armrest. Pain shot through her wrist, up her forearm, into her shoulder. The lupus did not care about kindness. Her fingers trembled. She reached. Her hand hovered. She closed her fingers around the earring and brought it up. It took her 8 seconds. It looked like it cost her everything. She held it out to the girl. Take a breath, Willa said. Her voice was soft. Steady. Everybody drops things. You're doing fine. The girl looked up at her. Surprise. Then gratitude. Then something that almost looked like she might cry harder. But for a different reason, Derek watched the whole thing. His expression hardened. This old woman in a wheelchair had just undercut his authority on his floor. She had not even tried. She had just been kind. And kindness to Derek Caldwell was weakness. And weakness had no place in his store. He decided right then what she was and what she was not. Nadine wheeled Willa to the jewelry section. The sapphire pendants sat behind a locked glass case. Willa pointed at one, a teardrop sapphire on a white gold chain, the one Amara had circled in the catalog. Excuse me, Willa said to the nearest associate. "Could I see that pendant, please?" Before the associate could move, Derek was there. He stepped in front of the case like a wall, 6'3" of charcoal Tom Ford blocking the glass entirely. "That collection is by appointment only," he said. It was a lie. There was no appointment policy. There never had been. "I didn't know that," Willa said. "Can I make an appointment now?" "I'm afraid that won't be possible today. But we have some lovely pieces near the entrance. Clearance items. Very affordable. Let me have someone show you." His voice was smooth, polished. He spoke slowly and loudly, the way people speak to someone they believe cannot understand. Nadine's grip tightened on the wheelchair handles. "She doesn't want clearance," Nadine said. "She wants a sapphire pendant. She can pay for it." Derek did not look at Nadine. He acted as though she had not spoken, as though she did not exist. "Ma'am," he said to Willa, "I'm going to have to ask you to move along. Other customers are waiting." No other customers were waiting. Willa did not move. She sat in her wheelchair with her thin hands folded in her lap and said, "I would like to see the pendant." Derek's smile disappeared. He leaned down toward her, close enough for her to smell his cologne, close enough for her to see the cold blue of his eyes. He spoke quietly, almost a whisper, so only she could hear. "I'm not going to ask again." He straightened up and walked to Curtis Boyd. The security guard stood by the far wall, hands clasped. Derek leaned in and whispered, "Keep an eye on the wheelchair. Follow it. Don't let it out of your sight." Not her. The wheelchair. Not the woman. Not the customer. The wheelchair. As though Willa were not a person, but a piece of furniture that needed to be watched. Curtis hesitated. "Sir, she's just—" "Did I ask for your opinion?" Derek said. "Do your job or find a new one." Curtis followed Willa at a distance. His steps were heavy. His face was tight. He did not want to do this, but he did it. Willa noticed. She said nothing, her jaw set. She kept browsing. Nadine held up a silk scarf from a display table. "This is pretty," she said. "Feel the fabric." Willa touched it, nodded. Nadine set it back down. 30 seconds later, Patricia Ellis walked up to Derek. She cupped her hand near his ear and whispered, "The aide put something in the wheelchair bag. I saw it." She had not seen it. Nothing had been taken. Nothing had been hidden. Patricia lied because she knew what Derek wanted to hear, and Derek heard exactly what he needed. He walked back to Willa. This time he did not smile. This time there was no politeness, no customer service mask. He stopped in front of the wheelchair and pointed at the bag hanging from the back handle. "Open the bag." "Excuse me?" Willa said. "Your bag. I need to inspect it." Routine courtesy. "No," Willa said. "You do not." "Ma'am, if you have nothing to hide—" "I have nothing to hide, and you have no right to search my belongings." Derek did not wait for permission. He reached down and grabbed the bag off the wheelchair handle. One hard yank. The strap caught on the armrest and snapped. He held the bag in one hand and unzipped it with the other. He turned it upside down over the jewelry counter. Everything fell out. Medication bottles clattered on the glass. A wallet, thin, worn at the edges. Tissues. A tube of hand cream for joints that ached every hour of every day. And a birthday card. The envelope read, "Happy 18th Amara," in shaky handwriting. The letters leaned sideways because Willa's hand could not hold a pen straight anymore. Derek picked up the birthday card between two fingers. He held it up like evidence. He looked at it. He dropped it back on the counter like it was trash. He looked at the pile. No stolen merchandise. Not a single item that did not belong to a 76-year-old woman in a wheelchair who had come to buy her granddaughter a birthday gift. He did not apologize. He did not put the items back. He dropped the empty bag on the floor, at Willa's feet, where her hands could not reach, where she would have to wait for someone else to pick up what was hers. Nadine bent down to pick it up. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. "You had no right to do that," Nadine said. Derek ignored her. He turned to face the store floor. He raised his voice, loud enough for every customer, every associate, every person in the building to hear. "People like you come in here, touch everything, buy nothing, and create problems for everyone else. This is a luxury establishment. It is not a shelter. It is not a charity. And it is not for you." The words hung in the air like smoke. 3 customers turned to stare. A woman near the handbag section put her hand over her mouth. A man in a blazer stopped mid-step and watched. Grace Whitfield, 58, retired schoolteacher, 9-year regular customer, quietly pulled her phone from her purse. She opened the camera. She pressed record. Her hands were steady. Her face was not. Nobody said a word. Nobody stepped forward. The store held its breath. Derek was not finished. He picked up a thick store catalog from the counter. Glossy, heavy, 300 pages of merchandise Willa had made possible. He did not hand it to her. He tossed it. The catalog landed in Willa's lap with a flat, heavy slap against her thin thighs. Her body flinched. The catalog was heavier than her forearm. "Here," he said. "Pick something from the catalog and order it from home. That way you don't have to embarrass yourself in public." He straightened his pocket square. He smoothed the front of his vest. He looked at Willa the way a man looks at something he has already discarded. She did not cry. She did not raise her voice. She looked at her medication bottles scattered across the glass counter. She looked at the birthday card for Amara lying face up next to a tube of hand cream. She looked at the catalog sitting heavy in her lap, like an insult made of paper. Then she looked up at Derek Caldwell, this tall, beautiful, terrible man, and said, "I am not leaving this store." Derek stared at her. His jaw tightened. His blue eyes narrowed. Nobody had ever told him no on his own floor, and certainly not a woman who looked like this. "We'll see about that," he said. Derek turned on his heel. He walked toward the back office. For a moment, it looked like it might be over, like he might leave her alone, like the worst had already passed. It had not. He came back with Patricia Ellis at his side. Patricia was already dialing her phone. Derek walked straight at the wheelchair, not beside it, not around it, at it. Nadine stepped between them. She planted herself in front of Willa's chair and spread her arms. 26 years old, 130 pounds, standing between a 6'3" man and a woman who could not stand up. "Do not come near her," Nadine said. "Do not touch her." Derek did not slow down. He put his hand on Nadine's shoulder and shoved. One hand, one push. Hard enough to send her stumbling backward 2 full steps. Her hip hit the edge of a display table. Glass rattled. She caught herself. She did not fall. But her eyes went wide, not with fear, with shock that he had actually done it. "Get out of my way," Derek said. "This is my store." Nadine's hip throbbed where it had hit the table. She could feel the bruise already forming. She looked at Willa. Willa looked back at her, not with panic, not with fear, with something steady, something that said, "Stay." Nadine stepped right back. She stood behind the wheelchair and gripped the handles with both hands. Her knuckles were white, her voice shook. But she did not move. "You'll have to go through me," Nadine said. Derek looked at her like she was an insect. Willa had watched the whole thing. She had watched a 26-year-old girl get shoved by a grown man for trying to protect her. Something shifted behind Willa's eyes. Not fear. Something harder. Something older. She reached up with her thin hand and gripped the edge of the jewelry counter. She pulled herself forward in the wheelchair. Her arm trembled. The veins stood out beneath her dark skin like blue wire. She looked up at Derek, directly into those ice-blue eyes. "I am not leaving," she said, "until I buy what I came for." Derek looked down at her hand on his counter, at those thin, veined, trembling fingers gripping the glass edge, and he slapped it. Open palm, hard, across the back of her knuckles. The sound cracked across the marble floor. It bounced off the glass cases. It reached the chandelier and came back down. Everyone heard it. Willa's hand dropped. She pulled it to her chest and cradled it there. Her fingers curled inward. The skin across her knuckles was already darkening, a bruise rising beneath the skin so thin you could see the bones move underneath. She pressed her struck hand against the faded cotton of her blouse and held it the way you hold something that has been broken. She did not scream. She did not cry. She closed her eyes for 2 seconds. When she opened them, they were dry. But something behind them had changed. It was not defeat. It was the look of a woman who now understood exactly what kind of man she was dealing with. A woman near the entrance gasped. A man in a navy blazer, the one who had stopped mid-step earlier, stepped forward. "You just hit that woman," he said. "I watched you do it." Derek turned. "Sir, this is a security matter. I would suggest you step back." "She's in a wheelchair." "Step back." The man stepped back, but he did not leave. He pulled out his phone. A second camera was now recording. Patricia Ellis stood near the register, phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, I need police at the Beaumont Gallery on Tryon Street. We have a disruptive individual refusing to leave the premises. She's become aggressive." She looked at Willa as she said it. Willa, 91 pounds, cradling a slapped hand, sitting in a wheelchair she could not get out of. Aggressive. Derek was breathing hard now. His chest rose and fell beneath the Tom Ford suit. The charcoal fabric stretched across his shoulders. His jaw worked. His eyes were flat. Something had broken loose inside him. Some wire that kept a man civil had snapped. What was left underneath was not beautiful at all. He walked behind the wheelchair. Willa could not see him. She could only hear his shoes on the marble, that slow, deliberate click. He kicked the wheel, not a nudge, a kick. His Italian leather shoe drove into the left wheel of Willa's wheelchair. Full force. The kick of a man who had decided this woman was not human enough to deserve restraint. The chair lurched forward. Her body jerked against the seatbelt strap. Her head snapped forward and back. The catalog slid off her lap and hit the floor with a slap. Her medication bottles, the ones Nadine had carefully gathered back from the counter, scattered from her lap onto the marble. A small, orange bottle rolled across the floor and stopped at the foot of a customer who stared at it and did not move. Nadine screamed. She caught the handles and pulled the chair back. "Stop! Stop it!" Her voice broke. She wrapped her arms around the back of the wheelchair and held it like she was holding a person, not a chair, because she was. Curtis Boyd had been standing by the wall for the past 20 minutes, silent, frozen. He had watched the bag search. He had watched the catalog. He had watched the shove. He had watched the slap. He had said nothing. He stepped forward now. "Man," Curtis said, "that's enough." Derek pointed at him. "You're done here too? Badge on my desk by end of day." Curtis did not move. He did not take off his badge. He stood where he was and said nothing more. But he did not step back. Willa sat in the wheelchair, her struck hand cradled against her chest, her thin body rigid. She was breathing through her nose, slow and controlled, the way someone breathes when they are holding everything inside. She reached for her phone with her good hand. She unlocked it. She dialed one number. Terrence. Her voice was steady, quieter than before. "I need you at the Beaumont store on Tryon Street. Please come now." She did not explain. She did not describe what happened. She did not say she'd been slapped or kicked or humiliated. She said, "Please." Derek heard the call. He smirked. "Call whoever you want," he said. "You're trespassing. The police are already on their way." 12 minutes later, 2 Charlotte Mecklenburg police officers walked through the front door. Derek met them before they reached the floor. He adjusted his pocket square. He extended his hand. He was charming again. That magazine cover face back in place. "Officers, thank you for coming. We have a disruptive customer and her companion who have refused to leave. I have reason to believe there was an attempted theft." There was no attempted theft. There was no disruption. There was a woman in a wheelchair who had asked to see a pendant. The officers approached Willa. One of them, mid-30s, professional, looked at the wheelchair, looked at Willa's thin frame, looked at the bruise forming on her hand. His expression flickered, but he followed procedure. "Ma'am, can I see some identification?" Willa reached into the items Nadine had collected from the counter and handed over her driver's license. Her struck hand trembled as she held it out. "Would you consent to a search of your bag?" the officer asked. "No," Willa said. "I will not." "Ma'am, it would help us resolve this faster if—" "I have stolen nothing." Willa's voice was clear, tired, but clear. "That man struck my hand and kicked my wheelchair. I am the victim in this store, not the suspect." The second officer looked at the bruise on Willa's hand. He looked at Nadine. He looked at the 2 phones still recording. He said nothing, but his jaw tightened. The first officer turned back to Derek. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step back and let us handle this." "Handle it?" Derek said. "I called you to remove her. That's what I need you to handle." "Sir, step back. Now." Derek stepped back. But his eyes did not leave Willa. 23 minutes had now passed since Willa's call. Terrence was 35 minutes away. His hotel was across Charlotte. He was driving. The store was still. Customers stood in clusters, watching. 2 phones recorded. The police officer stood near the wheelchair, uncertain. Nadine gripped the handles behind Willa, one hand on her shoulder. Derek stood by the register, arms crossed, jaw set, waiting for the police to do what he had called them to do. Willa sat in the center of it all, thin, still. Her bruised hand pressed to her chest, her white hair catching the chandelier light. She looked at the locked jewelry case. The sapphire pendant was still there, still behind the glass, still waiting. So was she. A black Escalade pulled up to the curb outside the Beaumont Gallery. The engine cut. The driver's door opened. A tall black man stepped out. 6'2", broad shoulders, a tailored charcoal suit that fit like it had been sewn onto his body. He closed the door without rushing. He buttoned his jacket. He walked toward the entrance with the kind of stride that does not speed up for anyone. Derek saw him through the glass. He straightened his tie. He assumed this was whoever the old woman had called. A son, a nephew, someone who would help her leave quietly. Derek was already preparing his speech. Calm, reasonable, firm. The man pushed open the glass door and stepped inside. Derek moved toward him. He extended his hand. He put on the smile, the one that had worked on the police, the one that worked on everyone. "Sir, we have a situation here with this woman." The man walked past him. He did not shake Derek's hand. He did not look at Derek's face. He did not slow down. He walked past Derek Caldwell the way you walk past a piece of furniture you do not need. He went straight to the wheelchair. He knelt, one knee on the cold marble floor, his tailored suit pressed against the stone. He was at eye level with his mother now. He looked at her face, the hollow cheeks, the thin white hair, the dark skin lined with decades of work. He looked at her hands. He saw the bruise, the right hand, swollen across the knuckles, darkening into purple, cradled against her faded blouse like something she was trying to protect. He took her hand, gently, the way you hold something that might break if you breathe too hard. "Mom, I'm all right," Willa said. He looked at her hand again. He did not believe her. His jaw tightened. His eyes changed. Not anger. Something quieter. Something worse. The kind of calm that comes right before everything falls apart for someone else. He stood. He turned around. He faced Derek Caldwell. The entire store was watching. The police officers. The customers. Grace Whitfield with her phone still recording. The man in the blazer with his phone still recording. Nadine behind the wheelchair with tears running down her face. Curtis Boyd by the wall. Patricia Ellis frozen near the register. Terrence reached into his jacket. He pulled out a card. Not a business card. A corporate identification badge. Beaumont Luxury Holdings, executive level, headquarters. He held it up. "My name is Terrence Saunders." His voice was not loud. It did not need to be. The marble carried every word. "I am the Chief Executive Officer of Beaumont Luxury Holdings, the company my mother founded." He let the words land. "I was appointed by the board 10 days ago. This store, this building, every location in this chain. They all report to me." Derek's hand, the one he had extended for a handshake, was still hanging in the air. It dropped to his side. The color left his face. It drained out of him like someone had pulled a plug. Patricia Ellis's phone slipped from her fingers and hit the counter. Terrence was not finished. He took one step toward Derek, then another. He stopped close enough for Derek to smell the rain on his jacket. The woman you put your hands on, Terrence said, is my mother, Willa Saunders. She opened the first Beaumont boutique 46 years ago. On Trade Street, 6 blocks from where we are standing right now. His voice was steady. Every sentence a stone dropped into still water. She saved $8,000 over 14 years sewing other people's clothes. She built this company from a 1,200 square foot store into a 42-location luxury retail empire worth $1.2 billion. He paused. He looked at the marble floor. He looked at the chandeliers. He looked at Derek's Tom Ford suit. Every piece of marble under your feet, every chandelier above your head, every suit on your back, every paycheck you have ever cashed from this company. He leaned in. All of it exists because of her. He stepped back. And she came here today to buy a birthday present for her granddaughter. The room did not make a sound. Not a breath. Not a whisper. Not a shoe on the marble. The classical music still played from the hidden speakers, but nobody heard it. The world had stopped. Derek stood frozen. His mouth opened. It closed. His ice blue eyes, the eyes that had looked down at Willa like she was nothing, darted left, then right, looking for a door, looking for an exit. There was none. There was only the truth standing in front of him in a tailored suit, the frail woman in the wheelchair, the woman he had snatched a bag from, the woman whose birthday card he had held up like evidence and dropped like trash, the woman whose hand he had slapped, the woman whose wheelchair he had kicked across his floor. She had built the floor. Terrence turned to the police officers. His voice was quiet, controlled, every word placed like a brick. Has my mother been charged with anything? No, sir. Then I would like to file an assault report against him. He pointed at Derek. He struck a 76-year-old woman in a wheelchair. You have 2 witness recordings and a building full of security cameras. The officers turned to Derek. Derek's mouth moved. No sound came out. Derek found his voice. It came out cracked. Sir, Mr. Saunders, I had no idea. This was a misunderstanding. If I had known... If you had known what? Terrence said. If you had known she was the founder, if you had known I was the CEO, would that have changed how you treated her? Derek blinked. His mouth worked. No answer came. Let me ask you something. Terrence took 1 step closer. His voice dropped. Would you have slapped a 76-year-old white woman in a wheelchair? The question hung in the air. Derek's jaw clenched. His eyes dropped to the floor, the marble floor Willa had paid for. He could not answer, because the answer was written across every second of what he had done. Terrence turned to Patricia Ellis. She was standing behind the register. Her hands were clasped in front of her. Her face was white. You made the 911 call, Terrence said. It was not a question. I was following the manager's instructions. What instructions? He told me to report her. He told me to call the police. And the wheelchair bag? You told him the aide stole something. Did you see her steal something? Patricia's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No, she said. I didn't see anything. So you lied. She did not answer. She did not need to. Everyone in the store had heard it. Curtis Boyd walked over next. He did not wait to be called. He stopped in front of Terrence and stood straight. His security badge was still clipped to his shirt. Sir, Curtis said, I was told to follow your mother. I did it. I didn't agree with it. I watched everything that happened in this store today, and I did not stop it." He paused, his voice thinned. "I should have. I didn't. And I'm sorry." Terrence looked at him for a long time. Then he nodded. "I appreciate your honesty," Terrence said. "It will be remembered." One of the officers approached Terrence. "Sir, given the witness recordings and your statement, we'll be filing a report. Mr. Caldwell will need to come to the station for a formal statement. Charges may follow pending review of the footage." Derek stood motionless. The charcoal Tom Ford suit that had made him look like a king now looked like a costume. The Breitling on his wrist caught the light. The silk pocket square sat perfectly folded. Everything about him still looked expensive. But the man inside the suit had collapsed. Then something happened that no one expected. The young sales associate, the one who had dropped the earring tray that morning, walked across the floor. She was crying. She stopped in front of Willa's wheelchair and knelt down the same way Terrence had knelt. One knee on the marble. "You were so kind to me," the girl said. Her voice broke. "You picked up that earring for me. You told me I was doing fine, and then he did this to you." Willa looked at her. She reached out with her good hand, the one that was not bruised, and took the girl's hand. "You have nothing to be sorry for," Willa said. "You're doing fine." The same words, the exact same words she had said that morning when the girl was on her hands and knees picking up earrings. The circle closed. Kindness given when Willa had nothing. Kindness returned when it mattered most. Nadine wiped her eyes. Curtis Boyd looked at the floor. Even one of the officers turned his head. Terrence waited. Then he wheeled his mother to the jewelry counter himself. He positioned her chair in front of the locked case. The sapphire pendant, the teardrop on the white gold chain, still sat behind the glass. The same pendant she had asked about an hour ago. The same pendant she had been slapped for, wanting to see. "Would someone please open this case?" Terrence said. It was not a request. A trembling associate unlocked it. She lifted the pendant out and set it on a velvet tray. Willa looked at it. She picked it up with her good hand. She held it to the light. The sapphire caught the chandelier glow and threw blue across the glass. "This is the one," she said. Terrence reached for his wallet. "No," Willa said. "I'm paying." She pulled her own card from the items Nadine had gathered. She handed it to the associate. She paid full price. No corporate discount. No apology gift. No gesture from the company she had built. She had come to buy a present for Amara. She bought it. With her own money. On her own terms. Nadine wheeled her toward the door. Terrence walked beside them. The store watched them leave. Nobody spoke. Within the hour, Helen Mercer, district manager from Richmond, arrived. She reviewed the security footage from start to finish. Every frame, the redirect, the bag search, the slap, the kick. She interviewed Patricia. She interviewed Curtis. She called Beaumont Holdings headquarters. Derek Caldwell was suspended effective immediately. His corporate ID was collected. His access was revoked. He was escorted to the back office and told not to leave until further notice. He sat in the chair behind his desk, the desk in the store that Willa Saunders had built. The irony was not lost on anyone. except maybe Derek. The next morning, Grace Whitfield sat at her kitchen table in Charlotte. She was 58, a retired schoolteacher. She had a personal Facebook account with 312 friends. She had never posted anything that more than 40 people had seen. She uploaded the video. She wrote 5 sentences. I watched a store manager slap a 76-year-old woman in a wheelchair and kick her chair across the floor. She had asked to see a pendant for her granddaughter's birthday. Nobody helped her. I recorded it. Please share this. By noon, the video had 4,000 views. By 6 p.m., a local Charlotte news page shared it. By midnight, it had crossed 2 million. Within 48 hours, 15 million people had watched it. Derek Caldwell slapping a frail black woman's hand, kicking her wheelchair across a marble floor. Grace Whitfield did not have a platform. She did not have followers. She had a phone and a conscience. The algorithm did not care who posted the video. It cared what was in it, and what was in it made people stop scrolling. Then the journalists found out who the woman in the wheelchair was. The Charlotte Observer ran it first. The headline read, "Beaumont founder assaulted in her own store." The story spread from there. CNN picked it up, The Washington Post, NPR. Every outlet told the same story, and every outlet told it with the same disbelief. Willa Saunders, a black woman who worked as a seamstress for 14 years, who saved $8,000, who opened a single boutique on Trade Street in 1980, who built that boutique into Beaumont Luxury Holdings, 42 locations, $1.2 billion in value, who stepped down 8 years ago because her body could no longer carry her, who returned to her own flagship store in a wheelchair, wearing a faded blouse, to buy a pendant for her granddaughter, and was slapped and kicked and told she was nothing. The public did not just get angry. The public got furious. The hashtag Justice for Willa trended for 3 consecutive days. Protest groups organized outside the Charlotte flagship. Former employees began reaching out to reporters. The dam had broken. Beaumont Luxury Holdings launched an internal investigation led by an independent firm. Investigators pulled 2 years of security footage from Derek's store. What they found was not an isolated incident. It was a system. Black and brown customers were followed by security at 3 times the rate of white customers. They were redirected away from high-value displays. They were subjected to bag checks. They were asked to leave. 6 former employees submitted sworn statements confirming Derek's practices. 3 of them described being fired or pressured to resign after refusing to participate. One former associate, a young black woman, told investigators she'd been terminated for refusing to call security on a black family. The family had been browsing winter coats. She had worked there 11 months. Derek fired her the next day. No written warning, no HR review, just gone. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg District Attorney reviewed the case. The evidence was overwhelming. 2 witness recordings, a full security camera archive, sworn statements from employees and customers, the bruise on Willa's hand documented in a medical report the same evening. Derek Caldwell was charged with 2 counts: misdemeanor assault and battery for striking Willa, filing a false police report. His 911 call described Willa as aggressive. The footage told a different story: a 91-pound woman sitting still in a wheelchair, hands in her lap. If convicted, Derek faced up to 150 days in county jail, fines, and a permanent criminal record. His attorney released a statement calling it a regrettable misunderstanding. The internet did not find it regrettable. The internet found it predictable. Derek Caldwell was formally terminated from Beaumont Luxury Holdings. His name was removed from the company directory. His access badge was deactivated. The NAACP and a Charlotte-based civil rights organization filed a joint civil lawsuit. They named Derek personally and the Beaumont Gallery flagship for systemic discrimination. Former employees and past customers joined the suit. Derek now faced criminal prosecution, civil liability, and permanent industry blacklisting. The Tom Ford suit would not save him. The jawline would not save him. The ice blue eyes that had made people trust him on sight would not save him. None of it would save him, because the woman he had decided was nothing had built everything he had ever stood on. Patricia Ellis was terminated the same week. Her role in the false shoplifting accusation, the fabricated claim about Nadine, and the 911 call was fully documented. She was named in the civil lawsuit. She did not give interviews. She did not post statements. She disappeared from the story the way accomplices do, quietly, completely, and without anyone noticing she was gone. 10 days after the incident, the Beaumont Luxury Holdings Board of Directors held a press conference. Franklin Dodd, a senior board member, stood at the podium. Terrence Saunders stood beside him. Dodd acknowledged what he called a systemic failure in the culture of this company. He did not minimize. He did not deflect. He said the words. Terrence announced the creation of the Saunders Dignity Standard, a company-wide set of customer service protocols named in honor of the company's founder. The standard mandated anti-profiling training at every location, quarterly bias audits conducted by an independent firm, a customer complaint hotline staffed by a third-party organization, and a zero-tolerance policy for discriminatory conduct at any level. The board also announced a $10 million fund for racial equity initiatives in retail employment, scholarships, training programs, community partnerships. The fund would operate under the Saunders name. Curtis Boyd was offered a new position, training coordinator for the Saunders Dignity Standard program. He would travel to every Beaumont location and lead the rollout. His honesty during the investigation and his single moment of resistance on the store floor were cited as the reason Curtis accepted. He said one thing to reporters outside the press conference. I should have done more that day. I know that. But I can do more now. And I will. 3 weeks later, on a Saturday afternoon, the brick row house on Charlotte's east side was full. Streamers hung from the ceiling fan. A sheet cake sat on the kitchen counter with 18 candles, and the words, "Happy Birthday, Amara," written in purple icing. The front door was propped open. Family drifted in and out. Someone had set up a speaker on the porch, playing music Willa did not recognize, but did not mind. Amara sat cross-legged on the living room floor. 18 years old, bright eyes, braids pulled back with gold clips. She was surrounded by wrapping paper and gift bags. She had already opened a new backpack, a journal, and a pair of sneakers she'd been talking about for months. Nadine wheeled Willa into the living room. Willa held a small velvet box in her good hand. The bruise on her right hand had faded to yellow. It was still there if you looked. She did not try to hide it. "This one is from me," Willa said. Amara took the box. She opened it. The sapphire pendant sat on white satin. The teardrop stone caught the afternoon light from the window and threw a sliver of blue across Amara's face. Amara's mouth opened. Her eyes filled. "Grandma." She held the pendant up. "This is the one I showed you, in the catalog." "I know," Willa said. "Where did you get it?" Willa smiled. It was small. It was tired. But it was real. "From a store on Tryon Street," she said. "It took a little longer than I expected." The family laughed. Some of them knew the story by now. Some of them did not. Willa did not explain. She watched Amara clasp the pendant around her neck. She watched the sapphire rest against her granddaughter's collarbone. She watched Amara touch it with her fingertips, gently. The way you touch something you know you will keep forever. That was enough. That was everything. Later that evening, the house had emptied. The streamers were still up. The cake was half eaten. Amara had gone upstairs. Nadine was cleaning the kitchen. Terence stood on the porch. The air was warm. Crickets, a neighbor's dog, the street light at the end of the block buzzing faintly. He looked through the window. Inside, Willa sat in her wheelchair at the kitchen table. Amara had come back down. She was sitting next to her grandmother, one hand on Willa's arm, the sapphire pendant glinting under the kitchen light. They were talking. Willa was listening. Her face was soft, open. The lines were still there. The cheekbones, the hollow cheeks, the thinness. But in this light, in this moment, she did not look like hardship. She looked like someone who had made it through. Terence thought about his mother, the woman who had sewn other people's clothes for 14 years, who had counted pennies into a jar on a shelf in a house smaller than this one, who had opened a store with nothing but nerve and $8,000, who had built something no one believed a black woman from Charlotte's East Side could build, and who had been slapped in the store she created by a man who had decided, in the time it took to look at her skin and her wheelchair, that she was nothing. Terence reached up and adjusted the porch light. The bulb was loose. Willa could not reach it from her chair. He tightened it. The light steadied. He locked the front door. He checked the windows. He texted Nadine. "You need anything tonight?" She wrote back, "We're good. She's tired, but she's happy." He stood on the porch for another minute. Then he walked to his car. "I want to know your answer. Drop it in the comments. Tell me what you would have done. Not what you think you should say. What you actually would have done. And if this story made you feel something, anger, sadness, recognition, share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear it. Stories like this only reach people when you help them travel. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell. We tell stories like this every week. Stories about people who were underestimated, people who were dismissed, people who showed up anyway. Because that's what Willa did. She showed up. She always showed up.
The story's over, but one thing keeps sticking with me. We usually think the people who build things get remembered for it, that the world recognize its creators, that if you pour your whole life into something, the thing you build will know you when you walk back in. But the story shows me that's not how it works. She built the floor, the walls, the name on the door, and the man standing on everything she made looked at her and saw nothing. Not because she had changed, because he never looked past the wheelchair and the skin. That's what I can't shake. We think we see people, we don't. We see packaging, age, skin, clothes, the chair they're sitting in, and in 3 seconds we have decided what they are worth, not based on what they have done, based on what fits the picture on our head. The cruelest part, the people who build the most often look like the least, because they gave everything to the things they created. They didn't keep any for themselves. They look tired, they look old, they look like somebody you would walk past without a second glance. So this week, before you decide somebody is nothing, ask what they built. You might be standing on it. If you had been in the store, would you have stepped forward? I read every comment, hit like, subscribe. See you next time.